Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. I'm going to show you a really cool binding technique I learned very recently, in fact. I showed you in a previous video how I had always been doing binding until literally recently, where you kind of create a little envelope, you attach your binding to the front, come all the way around, and you tuck that tail inside there, and that's what it creates. There's kind of an opening here. This technique is really cool because you don't have that flap. You really kind of can't tell where the binding begins and ends. It's like it's just there magically. So what I've done is, with this approach, instead of creating the flap like I showed you in the previous video, you just have your binding strip and you leave a good 5 or 6 inches open, unsewn, and you just come in, miter the corners as you normally would, and you're just coming down the home stretch. Now, if you cut your binding strips to 2.5, you will do a 2.5 inch overlap. Whatever width you cut your binding strips is determining this overlap. What am I talking about with overlap? Well, what I'm saying here is, this is the overlap. Here's where the binding started. So I'm going to just kind of note that on this here, and I'm going to measure over 2.5 inches. If you cut your binding strips to 2.25, you would come over 2.25. If you cut your binding strips to 3 inches, you'd come over 3 inches. You get the idea that the distance of the overlap has to match the width of the strips. I'm now going to go ahead and cut this. All right. Okay, now I have a left flap and a right flap. Now watch this carefully, because if you get this wrong the way I did the first time, it did not work out at all. So you're going to twist away from yourself once, up and away from yourself twice, so you're back to the right side of the fabric. Here, I'm just going to up and away, and we'll go right sides together here. Just like this. Now I might put in a pin or two. It's a little bit of a handful, as you can see, just to get everything to kind of hold steady, because what needs to happen next, you need to lay that out good and flat. Let me go ahead and pin that one more time. This takes a little bit more time, but it's really cool. So, let me put one more pin in here. I'm going to put my ruler from corner to corner. Let's get that up there. Let me pin that one more time. The extra effort here, I promise you, will be worth it. It looks so cool. So from here to that corner, we're going to go ahead and mark. Okay, a couple more pins. I'll go to the sewing machine. In fact, let's just go together. Let's just do that. And we'll sew on that line. You want to make sure everything is good and smooth underneath there and nothing's bunched up. So I'll just kind of smooth it out as I go. Get that right in that corner right there. So let's take our pins out. Don't clip anything yet, just in case the twisty, we call this. You know, we were just discussing, what is this called? I don't know. Call it whatever you want. I call it the twisty binding, the hidden binding, all kinds of cool names. Did that work out as planned? Yes. Hallelujah, it did. So what I'll do now is bring that to my cutting mat. I will go ahead and just trim away till about 1/4 of an inch. Press that seam open like we do with on any binding joint. Then you will lay this down, take this back to your sewing machine, and now you'll just secure this to the rest of your quilt. And then in our previous video on the most basic binding technique, I mentioned to you just to roll that edge over. That's when you can come in with the Wonder Clips or pins and just secure that to the back and whip stitch it closed or machine stitch it closed. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's more coming up on binding and many other techniques as well.